Welcome to Goshen Prepping. Thank you for joining us. We're going to jump right into this because the topic today is very pressing and very clearly shows you the way our country's heading, not only in economic collapse, depression, war, but how the United States is actually going to lose its place in the top of the world order. We're going to see a new world order coming. We've been talking about this before, and the last time we saw this was when the British lost the top reign of the world order to the United States in the late 40s following World War II. But it's going to happen again. And when we talk about how the United States is economically strong, and no matter how many troubles we have, and we have a lot of troubles right now, you're going to see that we still are very strong as far as the dollar goes. Now, that is changing, obviously. And when we talk about currencies that could meet the bill, I mean, the United States right now is on top, but if it switches to somebody else, who could that be? It could be the European Union, the euro. It's actually pretty strong too. And we look at as far as the US dollar and the euro, it's actually pretty similar. We could also see Japan. When we talk about the Japanese yen, the yen is, well, it's fairly strong right now, but Japan's actually in trouble economically, and they're very strongly tied to the United States. So if the United States goes down, the Japanese yen's probably going along with us. And the third one we're looking at as far as competition with the United States is China, and specifically their money, the Chinese yuan. Now, there's so many things to tell you right now. The Chinese yuan is not prepared to take world domination. The United States stays strong for quite a while. And the reason I say that is because when people want to buy things and goods, there's actually what we call a vested interest. People want to have trust in the currency that's going to be dominant. And again, no matter how shaky the US is, no matter how many troubles we have, there's still a lot of trust there. Now, with this debt ceiling issue we're seeing happening right now, even just for the fact that they can't come to a deal is starting to shake a little bit, making it so people are starting to lose a little bit of interest in the US dollar. But we still stand strong. Something else too we're doing in the United States is we are printing off gobs of money. It's absolutely atrocious. But you know what? So are the other three. Japan, euro, as well as China are printing off their yuan or the dollars faster than the United States. As far as, we always get up in arms when they print off money here. It's still nothing compared to those other countries. So that's not something we can actually do too. But if this debt ceiling does not get remedied before the deadline around June 1st, we're going to see a lot of that trust in the United States drop significantly. And again, right now, practically speaking, the world still trusts the dollar. I say the world. Obviously, I'm looking at more of a whole picture. There are certainly countries who do not trust the dollar and want no part of it. For example, Russia. A lot of things they're doing, they're actually trading in rubles or in yuan with China. All right, so we continue to print money. People are losing trust. Our banks are failing. Well, there's things that can come into play that actually make this a lot worse. In fact, one of those things is, BRICS, as we talked about in the past, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and other countries coming into play. And more specifically, the country I really want to address today is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, it's very interesting. When we actually started our deal buying their oil at the turn of the last century, the deals from Saudi Arabia were really simple. We protect them, militarily speaking. We buy their oil. And then also, one of the things too, by the way, is they said it very clear, is we do not bring any type of Western religions into Saudi Arabia. They are allowed to freely practice Islam. And even that, as far as like Saudi Arabia goes, their practicing of Islam is different than Iran because there's different sects of Islam if you didn't know. But either way, we couldn't touch that part, which is fine. But security is the most important part. Saudi Arabia does have a military. And they actually, because of us, thanks to the good old USA, they actually have a pretty technologically sophisticated military, but they simply don't have the manpower to actually make it function very well. So they have, historically speaking, been depending on the United States to protect them, militarily speaking. And we've always had like carrier groups, military presence, naval presence specifically in the Gulf to be able to protect our interest in Saudi Arabia. Along comes Biden. Well, not Biden, but along comes Biden and, his puppeteers and all the people in that specific area. We're not talking about Democrats specifically. We're talking about extreme progressives have basically cut the deals with the Saudis. Now, they haven't cut the deals as far as wanting oil. They want to make the deals, but they're actually cutting the way things are done in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia does not like dealing with specifically, not America, but with Biden. And I say that because up until the Biden administration, Saudi Arabia has actually owned and operated numerous refineries to process the crude oil coming in the United States. So they wouldn't process it over there in Saudi Arabia. They would actually send the crude oil over in ships to our East Coast, process it here, and then sell it to the United States. That's the way it's been done for a long time. And we've actually had a very tight deal because of this. And then along comes the political aspects of the Biden administration. And now Saudi Arabia continuously makes mocking jokes about the United States and the way the Biden administration runs. They don't like it at all. And that's fine. You know what? In the United States, we can do what we want to. But the problem is, when this happens, Saudi Arabia still has to sell their oil. They've been cutting the oil supply coming to the United States, and they're looking for not necessarily money because they have gobs of money. They want security. And if Biden is not sending the security to the Persian Gulf, Saudi Arabia is going to be looking elsewhere. And they found it. BRICS, specifically China. China is now setting the stage for taking that crude oil. I want to say they're taking away from the United States, but the Saudi Arabia is taking away from the United States and sending it to China now. And they're actually doing exactly what happened here decades ago. Saudi Arabia is now building oil refineries on the coast of China, sending the crude oil there and processing it for their incredible economic machine that is growing like crazy. Now, China, however, right now, militarily speaking, is not in a situation to be able to protect Saudi Arabia, even though that is coming. They're not there. However, you're starting to see China set this new world stage, possibly eventually taking over as a new world order, orchestrating peace treaties. Again, Iran and Saudi Arabia have always butted head when they see things religiously speaking. And who sat down to actually bring these two together into a partnership? It was China. So Saudi Arabia is seeing this, and they're turning to China and really making it so they're actually feeding everything they want. And despite of this, it's not that Saudi Arabia hates the American dollar. They're fine with the American dollar. They're not fine with this administration. But China said, oh, we'll deal with you, but we're not going to deal with you in US dollars. And Saudi Arabia is like, fine, whatever. So they've actually been selling their oil, sending the crude oil ships to these new refineries they're building, and then turning it into fuel, diesel, etc. for the Chinese, not based on the American dollar, but on the Chinese yuan. So we're already seeing the first steps because of this. And because of this, we're seeing a decrease already in imports to the United States, not even just fuel, but other things, commodities that we like as well. And because of this, we're seeing a increase again, once again, and here comes the moral of the story, everybody. We're seeing an increase in gas prices, fuel prices, diesel prices going up. And we've already seen in the last few weeks has gone up quite a bit. Real quick, by the way, put in the comments below what your gas prices are at. What are they at now, and what were they a few weeks ago? Because here it's already gone up by a good 50 cents, if not more. But it's just a matter of time. You ready for this, everybody? Hold on to your seats. We're going to see gas prices and diesel prices going over $4 a gallon. $4 a gallon again. For those in California, probably already there. But for like here in Michigan, we were at like $3.15. Now we're up to $3.60. We're easily going to see $4 again as we actually come into the summer. But more importantly, it's not simply just stifling us in the gas, because you know what? Biden likes this. His administration likes this. We don't want you to use gas. We want wind and electric and batteries and all those things that are easily more controllable, and not all these fossil fuels, blaming it on climate change. That is just a farce. That's not what they're doing. So we are seeing right now Biden and the Republicans battling each other. It very well may lead to not having an agreement as far as these debt talks goes. It may not raise the debt ceiling, and it may actually take that credit from the United States and drop it even further. And if we think the Saudis selling this oil to China is a big deal, just wait to see what that happens. It is going to be nothing less than crippling the United States as the Chinese yuan is drastically increasing. It is heading toward, and I don't want to admit this, but we need to, it is heading toward being the new economic unit for the world, and China will surpass America. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen this year, but it's probably going to happen in the next couple of years, taking the lead in the new world order. One last thing you need to see about this. This oil thing is not the straw that's going to break the camel's back. Even the debt talk specifically, as far as the debt limit, the debt ceiling is not the straw either. What actually happens every single time there's a switch from the world order, there's a major war that takes place prior to this. What led to the United States actually taking the lead in the world order in the 40s? World War II. So More than likely what we're seeing in the next year or two is not only more and more problems in the United States, higher and higher gas prices, inflation, and more debt ceiling problems. There's always going to be these problems popping up, but we're definitely going to be seeing, as this shift takes place, a major war. That's something we need to prepare for. And this is Ghost Prepping, and that's actually what we are prepping for. Have your food and everything ready, because dangerous and horrible times absolutely are coming. And that's coming from me. I'm an optimistic person, but I'm also very realistic too. So keep prepping, everybody. Keep stockpiling, and we have to be ready for this.